There is a lot of issues going on with this case that are now flooring detectives and the family. I've been monitoring the case of Sebastian Rogers. He's a boy that went missing in Tennessee. His mom has a message.
Love you so much, and we want you to come home, and you're not in trouble.
Search into the 15-year-old's disappearance has all failed. This is a boy that has autism. He's a high-functioning autistic individual, and the parents are coming under heavy fire right now because it is leading to believe that foul play is involved. But here is something that the stepfather had to say early on in the investigation.
Chris and Katie tell me they've been harassed, people pointing fingers at them.
You're not in this situation. You don't quite understand.
Many here in the public are just concerned about the well-being of Sebastian Rogers and would like to see him come home and come home safely. However, the boy has been missing for a significant amount of time, and now this particular case has led investigators to a landfill. Landfills appear to be the most promising place for parents to dump their children because this is not the first time. I was on scene at the Leilani case, and this was related to her 20-month-old son, Quentin Simon, which was found in a landfill. Leilani Simon is behind bars. Also, Elijah Vu. He has not been found yet. He's missing from Two Rivers, Wisconsin, and also the detectives and the investigators in this case have gone to the landfill and are currently doing a landfill search. Now, one thing is for sure, it appears he struggled with some things for quite some time. It's hard to imagine what little Maddie went through while she was living in the household with Stephan Sterns. My heart bleeds for the people that knew her and loved her the most. There are a lot of unknowns when it comes to Stephan Sterns and what he did to Maddie Soto. For those that don't know, sustenance is Stephan Sterns. This was deleted a while ago, and it says, just to think old people are gross, people who force themselves bodily upon small children are gross. And his response was, we aren't talking about pedos and ours here. We're talking about family members trying to give affection like hugs and kisses, telling kids it's totally cool to refuse to reciprocate. That's where your best judgment as a parent comes in. If bad Uncle Touchy wants to go long gropey hug, then say no all day. But when sweet grandma wants a kiss on the cheek, or a normal non-perverted family member wants to give them a hug, that, for F's sakes, what's the issue? No one is talking about forcing themselves on children here. So obviously, we're seeing some cracks in the surface. Did mom know about this? Obviously, there were some things going on behind the curtain, and this was going on 2 years ago, about the time that we thought this abuse was happening with Maddie, according to law enforcement. So we're having all these conversations on these chats and Reddits from him, and it seems like it's about his own life. And now we're learning he's been abusing Maddie for at minimum 2 years about the time this was posted. Let me know your thoughts. I didn't set up any equipment. I didn't really have time to set up any equipment this afternoon. Good afternoon. This is kind of an impromptu live showing. We're just receiving some new information about an hour ago, just breaking. 60 new charges have been filed against Stephan Sterns,
by the state attorney's office after the investigation revealed more images and videos depicting criminal acts. We can only imagine what those criminal acts were. My heart is just in the floor this afternoon. When I think of Maddie Soto, I just think of a sad little girl that nobody even knew was so sad. And it just breaking my heart hearing this information, knowing the gravity and the reality of what we're talking about here. It is just very hard to put into words this afternoon as we are learning more about her case and her short life here on Earth. Guidance, it's nice to see you. Leo, Mike Stevens, it's great to have you here. The Real Me Too. Emma, it's nice to see you. Rhonda, Colleen, baby Yoda the trucker, it's nice to see you, love. Carissa, good afternoon. Just Debbie, Amazing Grace, it's nice to see you. Margaret, it's nice to have you here as well. Tammy Sue, Pam, Joyce, it's nice to see you. Who else? I think I scrolled over. Sonia, Guidance, good afternoon. Ruby, it's nice to see you. Who else do we have? Maria, bye you, babe. If I miss you, if I gloss over you, I'm really sorry. Cindy, it's nice to see you as well. Is it Taryn? It's nice to have you from South Africa. Wow, nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. We're talking about a crazy story here stateside in the United States, where I hear we are just the cray-cray of the world. So stick around. You might, I don't know what to even say. It's just getting bad out there. Fly on Your Wall, 1977, Southern Grammy, our beautiful Southern Grammy, still in the hospital, needs lots and lots of prayers from us. Got into a bad wreck. If you guys want to go to my Facebook page and you want to know how you can help her, we've got her GoFundMe or some type of funding activities over on our Facebook page. If somebody wants to drop that down in the chat, they can. It's nice to see you. I think I got through everybody. If I missed you, Bubbly Beth. Oh, I love that. That's cool. I love that. Bookworm, Rapper. I hope you're nice in here today. It's nice to see you, my love. Nice to see you, Rapper. I want to give you a virtual hug. Buck Cherry Lover, it's nice to see you as well. TL, Sensimilia. Crazy chicken lady. I'm becoming a crazy cat lady. The cats are starting to adopt me. Every morning I go out, I seem like I have an extra mouth or two to feed. Pittsburgh Nurse. And by the way, I have no animals. Just to throw that out there. Like, well, why are you feeding your cat outside? I have no cat. I have no cats. Plural. I have no animals. The only animal that lives with me is me. Right? It's nice to see you. Okay, so guys, if I glossed over you, I'm really sorry. Cheeky Chops, Shelly, I saw Crafty Chris up in here. Every Sweet and Sassy, I see you guys. So good afternoon. I want to get started. So many of you, if you're here, you may know about this case. You may not know about this case. This is the girl. Oops, wrong side. I forgot my mirror. So this right over here is Madeline Soto. We found out that she passed away on March 1st when they found her body. She disappeared on February 26th. Apparently, her mom's boyfriend dropped her off at school. She didn't want him dropping her right off at the front of the school, so he took her down the road over to like a 4 or 6 lane highway and dropped her off at a church over there. And then when mom went and picked her up at 4:30 in the afternoon, she's not at school. She hadn't been to school. Mom still hasn't received notification that she wasn't in school. So she calls law enforcement. Law enforcement obviously couldn't meet her, and they ended up meeting her at the school around 8 o'clock, right about the time she got her notification that her child wasn't in school, by the way. 8 o'clock notification that her child was not in school. Many people have been mixed on this channel. Just mixed, whether mom knew, whether mom didn't know. We're seeing some things that we can at least honestly say, factually, that there were red flags at minimum she was not paying attention to. Absolutely, hands down, there's enough information corroborated that we can say that there were a lot of red flags in this young girl's life Did it rise to the level where her mom knew that this type of stuff was going on? I have not found that yet, but I am working on it. I'm working very hard. I'm working around the clock trying to find as much connection to this as possible, because we do have a mixed bag, and it's a very delicate situation trying to manage this case, because we, a lot of us like to, well, not like to, but we do act on emotion. Okay. Sometimes things are, you can't have emotion in it to be able to see what's really going on. And this is a highly disturbing case. This is a young girl that was abused. We're learning a lot about this. The man that is accused of this, his name's Stephan Sterns. He has known Maddie since she was 5 or 6 years old. It is my belief. Now, then again, this is speculative. This is only my opinion. I have nothing really concrete to base this on other than we understand these types of predators. But I truly believe that he targeted this mom to get to this child all the way back then. I really do. I believe the mom had self-esteem issues. Again, just my opinion. I know sometimes my opinion offends people, but it's my opinion to have. In my opinion, I feel like he used her mental health against her at times to dismiss or make her second guess her own maybe parental instinct. I truly do believe he did that because he's a master manipulator. He's a predator. So he's conniving, he's cunning, and he's manipulative. So us thinking that he is not manipulating the crap out of this mother, that he's not grooming her as much as he's grooming this girl, you guys are wrong. I believe mom is a victim of this. Did she have it? You know what? But she may have looked the other way. That's what people are saying, that they believe Maddie may have told her mother, and maybe she did try. We can't look past that. Maybe she did try. I haven't found any indication one way or another whether she tried or did or was successful. But even if she did, if we had to take a basis, and if I had to look at Maddie's past behavior, I would look at her communications with her friends. There's a Spanish-speaking television program called Telemundo. I think it's Telemundo 31 or something in Orlando. And they were out there at a community event. It's not her most recent vigil, or the one that's coming up. I can't remember if it's already happened. I think it's already happened. But it was at one that had just happened like a week or so ago. And Telemundo was out there, and one of her best friends came up and talked to him. It was a boy. And he indicated to them that she had indicated at some point in, a couple years ago that her mom's boyfriend had hurt her. But, he didn't really elaborate what that hurt was. And so you got to look at child behavior, and that would be kind of the language I would expect for a child to use. Hurt, they don't know, they may know good hurt, bad hurt, or, whatever. They just know hurt, that whatever happened hurt. And we don't know what he was saying he was doing. I don't want to get too much into that. But there was these conversations. That video that you just saw showed you the kinds of conversations he was having with strangers in Reddit posts. And he was having to argue a point about touchy, feely stuff. I'm sorry. I'm 44 years old and still to this day have never had a conversation like that with people. That kind of conversation. Never had to have it. I don't know how many people in my audience have had to have it with other people. Maybe I'm just wrong. Maybe it's just because it just isn't a conversation that I've ever had. I never had a reason to have it or something. Maybe somebody in my audience has had a conversation where they're arguing why grandma should be able to hug and kiss their grandchild or whatever that weird post was all about. And I don't know of any grandchild that doesn't absolutely love their grandmother, unless their grandmother was like mean. Yes, I can say that. There are mean grandmothers out there. I'm sure many of people are probably nodding their head saying, yeah, I got one myself. I never had the pleasure of meeting my grandmother, my biological grandmother. She was already gone. She lost her life when my mom was only 15. So I never really got to meet my actual grandmother. My great grandmother I got to meet. But my actual grandmother, I never had the pleasure of meeting. I heard she was a beautiful lady, but you didn't want to piss her off. If you did, you might want to duck. You might have one of those cast iron skillets coming your way. So, I mean, if I had to think that, anything about my grandma, I have to think she's a little kind of like me, okay? So if you want to know what my grandmother is, I never met the lady, but if she's kind of like me, then I would have loved her all day long. I loved her all day long, even if she wasn't like me. So I just thought the whole conversation about the grandma stuff was really odd. It seemed like he was, how people use third persons and stuff like that to tell a story, but to try to take their name out of it. Like, oh, my friend Sally had this situation. We've all done that, right? Where we're talking about something to somebody, or we really want some advice, but we don't want people to know that the advice we're asking for is for us. You know what I'm saying? So we put somebody else in there, like Sally. Or if you need to make it a guy, like George, Hubert, right? Jane, John, my Uncle John. I do not have an uncle named John that I know of. Okay. But I may have had some requests such as, my Uncle John had this experience. Do you have an experience like that? Right. So I kind of felt when I was reading this, that was what I was getting from him, that I was getting, this was really not a conversation about grandma. This was a conversation about something that happened to him and somebody else that didn't want him showing them affection. That's what it seemed like to me. Now, I could be reading more into it. I might be reading more into it because we now know that this man's behind bars, right, for doing horrible things. So naturally, every time we read anything, we're now reading it with a skeptical lens. We're overreading it and looking way into it because we feel like there's some subtle messages here. And I truly believe there are. So he's got 60 new charges that have been filed against him by the state attorney's office after the investigation revealed those more pictures and images. And then when I pop over here to the news release, this is what the news release states. Actually, let me put it up here so those that are hearing and impaired can read along. Give me just a second. So it's a little bit bigger. Can everybody see that? Don't forget to like this video. If you guys have not already gone out, I don't know what channels you're on. If you're on X, please go out there and like this and give a heart. If you're on either of the YouTube channels or any other platform that we're running on right now, please do it. Stop what you're doing and go out there and give it a thumbs up. I'd greatly appreciate it. This is what this press conference or media release states. It says, Kissimmee, Florida, the state attorney's office for the 9th Judicial Circuit has filed 60 new criminal charges against Stephan Sterns, date of birth 4/25/1986. It makes me sick. This man is younger than me. He is younger than me. OMG. The man associated with the Madeline Soto case. Shortly after Madeline Soto's disappearance, several disturbing images and videos were found on Stephan Sterns' phone. The city of Kissimmee Police Department quickly arrested Sterns, who remains in custody with the Osceola County Department of Corrections on a no bond. And I just want to say, for those, you guys wonder why I talk about this low-hanging fruit kind of stuff. It's because I kind of like Florida and how we handle our law. You screw with our kids, you're not going to be Leilani Simon here in the state of Florida. That's Georgia and all that liberal crap. I'm sorry not to offend anybody, but I am not a bleeding heart. So just accept me for who I am. I try to keep it at bay. But I'm telling you, this right here is why I'm so tough when I go into these communities and these people that are persons of interest and suspects in these horrible crimes. Why I start screaming at the politicians to lock their butts up. There's always low-hanging fruit for these people to be in jail while they're handling their investigation. Sometimes there's just not. And in those cases, you just have to do your best and live with the person outside of jail. But 90% of these cases, somebody has something that they can be sitting in jail while they're doing these investigations. And that's why I always talk about that low-hanging fruit here on this channel. And when law enforcement don't apply that, when you have something in the past like an abuse, an R, running a stop sign, whatever you could throw their butt in jail for, that's what you do. If they're on probation, violate them on probation. It doesn't matter because darn tootin', they're probably doing some. They're on probation, give them a piss test. 90% of them can't pass. They're supposed to abstain from drugs. They ain't got that doctor's excuse for that the green card. They just violated their probation, throw their butt in jail. That's what we do here in Florida. So when it says shortly after Madeline's disappearance, they quickly arrested Sterns, who remains in custody in the Osceola County Department with no bond. The investigation revealed more images and videos. This is what is highly disturbing. Many of you guys told me when this was coming out that they were concerned that more stuff had gone on, with Madeline. Well, those people that were saying that stuff in here, that were vocalizing, you guys were right. Whoever was bringing up, well, what about the other phone and stuff like that? You had a hunch, a gut feeling that there's more to this story, and you were right. You were absolutely right, because there is more to the story. The investigation revealed more images and videos depicting criminal acts, and we can only imagine what those acts are. The Kissimmee Police Department provided this evidence to the state attorney's office, which found cause to file the following charges. Guys, this is going to be very, very hard. Oh, my God. This is going to be very hard for you guys to listen to. If you guys have a squeamish stomach, if you have PTSD from your own personal situation, guys, please don't listen to this. We're about to get into it. It's on the screen right now, but I'm about to read it for those that don't want to see it. You're about to hear it. Thank you, guys. Julie, it's lovely to see you, my love. Elle Fig, it's nice to see you. Lori Lowe, it's nice to see you as well, guys. So we have 8 counts. SB. SB is like SA, but it's battery. Okay. You guys understand that? So I'm going to say SB. And when I say SB, we're going to act like it is just as all the other little initials, but SB is battery. Okay. It's the battery aspect of it. 8 counts of SB on a child under 12. This does not clarify, because here's another thing that you guys were very concerned about. You guys have been sending me messages and are concerned about prior to 2022, what had happened or potentially could have happened to this girl, right? Well, this doesn't say anything other than under 12. So some of this could have gone, further, even past her 11-year-old. We don't know, because it's everything under 12, right? So this is, we don't know those 8 counts, what her age was, or when those 8 counts had happened. So guys, this is very problematic. This is just, it's like, I almost want to cry. It's so bothersome for me. And not only was it just the 8 counts of the SB, now we got 5 additional counts of SB with a child 12 and up. Guys, she has only been 12 for a year. She just turned 13. And from 11 to 12, they have 5 counts. 5 counts. And that's the stuff they can prove. This is going to bother you. I'm going to say LLM, which is lewd and, right? But it's, instead of it being behavior, it's mole, right? Digestion with a mole in front of it. You guys got it, right? So now we've got 7 counts of the LLM. 7 counts of LLM. Then we have, oh my gosh. This is going to make you want to vomit in your mouth. 40 counts. 40, let me say that again. 40 counts. 40 counts of unlawful possession of material depicting acts by someone 10 or more. We appreciate the effort of our partners in the state attorney's office in assisting with seeking justice for Madeline, says Kissimmee Chief of Police Betty Holland. With this being a complex case with many facets, our work is not done, and we are continuing our investigation into the timeline leading up to Madeline's death. So obviously not the kind of news we would like to hear. But I can tell you that many of you guys had this gut feeling. You guys knew that it wasn't just this small little window. You guys knew. We all know this predator type of personality. And I believe this was engagement long before. That's probably why it was so easy to manipulate her when she got to 11, because we don't know what he's been doing to bring her up to that point. She's been in his care since she was 5 or 6 years old, guys. That is a very impressionable age. He's an authoritarian figure in her life. He's a parental figure. When you're 5 years old, she could have very well been calling him. I mean, I wouldn't even like to think. Exactly, Lady 7-Up. Exactly. They could have waited for toxicology before the main charges. Well, see, this is the thing, guys. They already have the toxicology. No, I don't care what law enforcement is telling you or telling their, telling the public out there. And they're telling the public things to maintain the integrity and not get them all up, to calm the public. They're calming measures. The bottom line is she has already been released to her family. The autopsy is complete. The toxicology and everything they need is that they would not release her without everything being done. So we already know it's done. They've withheld it from us. How are they able to hold it from us? It's very simple. They do this strategy of just giving you just a tidbit of information, and then they tell you they have to wait on the report. In 2 weeks, people forget, right? People forget. They move on to a different story, another case. In 2 weeks, the whole world is turned 15 million times upside down and sideways. You lose interest. That's what they bank on. I mean, look at the Brian Kohberger case. Look at how much it was dominating the airways. This amazing case that took 4 people's lives. It's absolutely extravagant. We've never seen anything really quite like it before. It's got the whole world's attention. And look at it now. They're having court hearings and barely anybody's even talking about it. It's because we've already moved on to another case. Our minds are very short-term minds. And that's what a lot of people bank on. Very short-term people. That's why when everything's going crazy here and they're like, oh my God, they're saying this. And if you ever hear me, I'm like, why are you worried about it? In 2 weeks, they're going to forget about it. Because that's about what it takes for people to forget about stuff. 2 weeks. It's a known fact. I've literally known that for years. A lot of people like, I bet you now that you think of it like that, I bet you start noticing it. 2 weeks. 2 weeks. You can literally change somebody's mind in 2 weeks. It's crazy. The mind is a crazy thing. That's why I say, there's a lot of manipulation that I see across this country in different things. I mean, one of the biggest manipulative type of marketing that I've ever seen, and this is this is using, like, they want inside of your head. It's the food industry. It is the food industry, the millions and millions of dollars they have spent just to make you crave their French fries from a TV. You never even think about it. But yes, McDonald's has spent millions of dollars to find out how to make your mouth water through a TV. That's, you know what I call that? I call that mind effing. Almost like psyop. It's one of those things that they don't like telling you about, but it's not a secret. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't broadcast it, but it's well known. And McDonald's is not the only food industry that does that. Haven't you ever noticed that every time you buy something, the packaging looks so much better than the actual product itself? Because if they took a picture of the actual product themselves, you probably would have picked it up in the box and bought it. It's deceptive advertising, but it works. But somebody got back, right? And did you guys hear about the Reese cups? The Halloween Reese cups? I think this lady sued them as a class action suit for like 16, I don't know, million, billion, who knows anymore. I can't remember what the number of it was, but a lady sued them. Class actions lawsuit because they look like a blob instead of a pumpkin. Like people are starting to get tired of it. They're just getting tired of it. Instead of it looking like a pumpkin, it looked like a pumpkin pooped an egg. From what I hear, it wasn't a very pleasing design. Reese's do better. So that's really all I have for you guys. This is, as sad as these 60 charges are being filed against Stephan, I think the one, and it's so sad that this little girl had to lose her life. I hope to God, and this is something that we can all be sure. I hope to God that her death is not in vain. I always try to find a silver lining in all of these things. I think it doesn't make me feel better about them being gone, but it just makes me feel like their life mattered. You know what I'm saying? Like they're not just another name going up on the wall. So I always try to find the silver lining in this case. And hopefully the silver lining in this case is that, we're talking to our children, right? If we're in a relationship with another person, maybe we take our girls out for, just a mommy girl ice cream and just, see how things are, see how that relationship with your man is with them. See, here are some strengths, to talk to them about what they like about him and what they don't like about him. Actually listen to your children. Find out if there's anything you need to be concerned with. Hopefully, Maddie, can help save somebody else. And guys, listen, if your child comes up to you and says something, whether you believe them or not, an ounce of prevention is worth a whole lot than a pound of cure, right? So what's the hurt of letting law enforcement investigate the allegations, right? You love your man. He couldn't do it. He couldn't do it, right? Your child is saying that he hurt her. Why don't you go to law enforcement and find out, right? Just let them do the investigation. If he did nothing wrong, he did nothing wrong. And problem solved. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to have it eat at you at night. If your child says it, whether you want to believe him or not, just go to prove him wrong. Especially if you don't believe your child. Prove your child wrong. Go to law enforcement, let them do a proper investigation into the allegations and show your child they were wrong. Right? And then you guys know what that's reverse psychology before the crusty crabs out there decide to turn my words around. Like we're being sarcastic, not sarcastic, but reverse. I guess reverse sarcasm. I don't know what they call it. You guys get what I mean. For all the parents that don't want to believe their children, prove them wrong. That's all I'm saying. For all you great parents out there, that when your child comes, you're an ounce of prevention type of person. I like you. I like you. Keep doing you. Keep doing it just like that. But still, always have an open communication. I'll tell you something that worked for me. I was a troubled child. Now, take it for what it is. I don't know if it'll work this day and age, okay? I don't know. But I was a problem child. Why was I a problem child? Because I had crap going on at home I didn't know how to deal with, right? My mommy and daddy were not doing well. There was, alcohol and not substances. We didn't have, my parents didn't have substance abuse issues. My father had a drinking problem. And so, I mean, it did get a little crazy in our house, but still, I guarantee that if I ever went to my mom, I ever asked her for anything, my mom would believe me first. It doesn't matter who it is. I truly believe, even if she didn't want to believe me, she would do the right thing of making the report for investigators to investigate it. So that's all I'm trying to say is for those great mothers out there that believe your children, God bless you. For the ones that are struggling, maybe your child has lied to you before. Maybe, I'm one of those people. You lied to me once, I question everything, right? So, I mean, we can't look past that. Some people are, well, their mom should have known. Well, sometimes they don't. And sometimes their children are like me, a bad child because I had a lot of problems I was dealing with, right? So, I lied to my parents constantly. If I went to my mom and told her something, God bless her, I still believe she would have believed me. But, there was a time that you'd have to question everything that came out of my mouth. And so, you got to apply that too. It's not really fair. Well, she should have known. Well, was the child lying to her every single day? And every single day this mom was feeling duped, where it was almost like the child called, we have to talk about that because it's not fair to constantly blame parents that are doing the best they can, but, had a problem child. So we need to have those active and open communications. So this is what worked for me with all of that craziness, okay? Is I had this one word that I was able to use with my mom, my dad, my stepmother, that if I needed help, I really needed help, I could use this word, and no matter what, I was not going to be in trouble. I'm not allowed to abuse it or the privilege is taken away. But if I'm ever jammed up, they don't care if I'm drunk. They don't care if I'm halfway across Florida at a party I shouldn't have been at because I snuck out of the bedroom, right? They didn't care. There was one word I was able to use, and I would get the help without getting my ass whooped, basically. I used it once, and I have to tell you, it worked well. It worked well. I didn't get in trouble. I got the help I needed when I needed to get it. And it doesn't really matter. This is the great word. The great thing about it, it doesn't matter what the word is because it's a word that's unique to you. I was a violin player at the time. Many people don't realize. I used to play violin. I tried like hell to be first chair. The best I could do was second chair. But you know what? That's okay. That's okay. We still want to root for the, first chair. Because she was so much better. Actually, she really was. Now that I'm 44 years old, I'm allowed to say she really was amazing. She was amazing. So, and I would never be that amazing on a violin. You know what? I have a violin here. I try to play it. Woo, doggy. That is definitely a craft that you need to be practicing and honing in on because it was a hot mess. I forgot how to tune my damn violin. I haven't touched a violin in like 20 years. 20 years. But that was my keyword to my family, was violin. So that's why I'm telling you about the violin. That was my keyword. If I called up and said my violin is broke or, and they knew that, because I never asked that. I fixed my violin back then. I had my little tuners and stuff. I knew how to do everything, right? If a peg broke, I fixed it, right? I knew how to take care of my violin. So they wouldn't have to worry about that. So that was my keyword. If I called them up and say, I'm really having a problem, my violin is broke or something like that. That was my keyword to get my get out of jail free card right there. That was, so anyways, I'm just telling you guys that because I don't know what to do. I just feel like Maddie's mom didn't know this. there is just something inside of me that this woman would have never allowed this to happen to her child if she knew about it. Did she miss some red flags when it came to that man? Oh, yes, she did. Oh, yes, she did. But I think he groomed her just as much as he groomed Maddie. I think he used her mental illness, her weaknesses, her self-esteem issues. I think he used all of that against this woman to make her think what she was seeing was not what she was seeing. I truly believe that. But I gotta say, there were still red flags. It's very disappointing. It's very disappointing because there were truly red flags that I saw. But you know what? When you're blinded by love, you're blinded by love. I'm still, there's a lot of people in my chat that just don't believe this mom didn't know. So I'm still working on that. I just need corroboration. That's what I need. If you guys can send me something where you guys have heard from this person or that person that she was talking to about her daughter, or her daughter had mentioned something to her, just something tangible, because right now all I'm getting is people saying, this is what I believe, but why do you believe that? Well, when you ask them why they believe that, is because that's their experience. And so it's like you got to apply their experience, and not that their experience is invalid or anything in any way. It's just that all of our experiences are much, much different. And so I'm trying to validate everybody's, justifications on why they're mad at mom, but I really need to see it's still all emotional arguments. Nothing is in black and white when it comes to the mom and what her level of knowledge is. And of course, with the lack of charges against Stephan and the mother, for that matter, and they're doing a lot right now behind the scenes, trying to piece this puzzle together to prove that man is the one that put her in that area and would have had knowledge. Now, the whole backpack, seeing him on the camera and stuff like that, that's really, really good evidence, and really does paint a picture. But again, everybody knew that Jen Soto, the mom, had hard times waking up in the morning. It just so happened all of this stuff was going on in the morning. So just curious. This is sad, but not unexpected with the 60 new charges. I am just overwhelmed right now with the amount, to be honest with you. It just makes my heart hurt even more for Maddie. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all kind of painted this horrible picture that can you imagine though, guys? I mean, just hear me out. And I know I'm beating a dead horse for some of you guys when it comes to Jennifer Soto. Just think about it like this. Can you imagine you thinking everything is going great, like normal, everybody, and let's face it, we all have fighting and crap. If the real world knew what went behind our doors, we would be highly embarrassed. Okay, we've all had experiences like that, right? Aunt Mary's a drunk on Thanksgiving. Like, if people knew the hot mess our family was, right? So we all have family problems behind closed doors that we don't want the entire world in on. So, this is maybe these are normal things. Maybe she's used to having kind of chaotic relationships. That's part of the abused relationship, right? Those of my family, my coffee club family that's been here and in abusive relationships, we know how we cater to our abuser. We know how much we loved our abuser. We know that we believed when our abuser, even though they were our abuser, when they told us something, we believed them. We believed everything that they said. That's how they had us under so much control, because it was always our fault. It was always our fault. Can you imagine that this woman in this relationship probably thinking maybe Maddie's father was physically abusive. So having this good-looking man that doesn't put his hands on her might have been right up her alley, right? But can you imagine just being completely, utterly in the dark, and then one day waking up, your daughter's gone, and you find out the level of abuse at the hands of somebody that you trusted and loved? Like, I just can't, in my life and in my world, just the nausea, the absolute gut-sickening, horrid feeling that you could ever imagine in your life. And then to start having all of those red flags that you overlooked just flooding in, and you going through this entire self-destruction. And I can't describe it other than complete, utter self-destruction, because you are totally, you take that fault, you take that pain, you take everything, and you never get over the fact of the woulda, shoulda, coulda. The woulda, shoulda, coulda. I got to tell you a story. So my dad had rental properties, and, I'd occasionally go over to the rental property. And I remember there's this one drunk man. I think I was 14 years old. One drunk man. And he brought me in there to talk to me about his fish. My dad was out at the table, literally 50 feet away. 50 feet away. I'm going into this man's room to look at this fish tank. And I remember he was a drunk. I remember he barely had teeth. And he's like, oh, look at here, sit right here. And how controlled he was. He ended up putting his hand on my leg, and I popped up and went back out to my father. I don't even know if I ever told my dad or anything like that. It was just one of those natural things where but just, now that I'm 44, looking back on that specific event of how he targeted me, how he brought me in for these goldfish, how he made me sit right where he wanted, and all of this being all done without even my knowledge. And even if I didn't tell my father, which I don't know if I did or not, I can't recall if I did or not, that shows you, like, even here, this is a tenant. This is somebody I have no loyalty to, no nothing. And as a young, I think I was 14 years old. Again, not stupid. Like as soon as he, put his, I knew this guy's funky. Get the hell out of this room, right? But I don't know if it was to the point that I told my dad, because I'm 14 years old, 10 foot tall, and bulletproof. I can take care of myself type of, personality, and that's just how I was. And so I just think about that, looking back on that, and how easy that was, even at 14 years old. And this girl here has been in this man's care since she was 6 years old, at minimum. At minimum, I think she might even have been closer to 5 when her mom was introduced to this man. So I really do have issues. And then we hear about this whole ordeal going around about 2022. Her friend doesn't want anything more to do with her because Stephan's he's armed all the time, and he's threatened to alive himself to Jen over this fight. She never had an idea what the fight is. And then we go to another area, which is the Reddit post and what Stephan was doing at the time, that all this stuff was going on when her friend wants to leave her and doesn't want to talk to her. And we start hearing this conversation about good touch and bad touch and gropey uncle and all this other stuff. And we're thinking, and he's making it out like somebody is not wanting to be affectionate with grandma. And I don't think it was grandma. I think it was him. I think Maddie didn't want to be affectionate with him and Jen were having fights over it. And it was because he had already started abusing this girl. This girl didn't know anything, because remember, her grandma said she was fearful and would not sleep alone. Is it because she thought the boogeyman was sneaking in? Because it sure looks like he was. I'm going to leave it with that. All right, guys, you take care. God bless. Prayers for justice for Maddie, and if mom had a hand in this, or mom knew, or she told her mother, if she told her mother and her mother did anything, I would be so sorely disappointed. I just don't believe it. So far, everything I've heard about Jen Soto has been, outside of her mental health and, not seeing red flags when it comes to Stephan, has been a love for her daughter. And, we see piece of shit parents here on this channel all the time. And as much as people are judging this lady, I'm seeing a woman that really loved her daughter, that didn't intend or mean to put her in harm's way, and didn't believe she did until it was too late. So it's just something to ponder, guys. Take care and God bless. Don't forget to be fearless. If you see something, say something. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And until next time, please be safe and kind to one another. God bless.
As you wake up in the morning, you want to find the latest, greatest information about criminal cases and have an intuitive conversation about the suspects associated with these cases. Head over to the Bullhornbetty channel on YouTube. Get breaking news right here on the Bullhornbetty channel. Welcome to the Bullhornbetty Coffee Club. Enjoy your stay and enjoy your day.